Well, I think I'm live, and I assume that you can hear me, you can see me. So, a very warm and welcome to the webinar. Good evening to one and all. I have like a structure ready with me, which I will be following. If you have any questions in between, you can feel free to comment in the chat. I will be looking at the other side of the screen to watch for your comments. I will try to answer each and every question that you have, and alongside I'll also follow what I have to share from my end. Uh, Relax, sit back. It's not a formal session, and the benefit of webinar is I can't see if you're sleeping or not. So make the most of it, I'll say. So let me introduce myself. My name is Chinmay. I'm basically from Amravati. I'm a civil engineering graduate. I passed out in 2014, post which I worked for 2 years at Larsen and Toubro Constructions, where I realized that I have a flair for marketing from my boss. I thank him till the date, who advised me to leave the job and go for MBA. So that's when I prepared for the MBA examinations, landed up in JBIMS, then cracked the interview for HUL, and now landed at HUL. So, so that's my short introduction. The agenda for the webinar is I have got some questions from you that how did I prepare for the interview? What was about the role that I liked? What did I researched into? And so on and so forth. So before that, let me start with something that I wanted to start the session with, a small story, and I'll get to the reason why I'm telling you a story first. So years ago, in a lab called XYZ, let's not get into the details. In a lab, there was an experiment done where electrodes were attached to the mouse, to the lab mice. What it was done, like the mice were caged, electrodes were attached to them, and a button was kept at a distance from them. So whenever the button was pressed, an electric current used to pass to the brain of the mice. And what did it do? It was observed that the live mice preferred to forego food, water, and everything just to cross the road and press the button. They were themselves pressing the button and letting the electric current pass to the brain. Now, why is that? So, the step two of the experiment was an electric grid was kept in between the button and the mice. Still, the mice were ready to suffer through the electric pains just to press the button. Why was it? It was because when the electric current was passed through a certain area of the brain, they were getting a pleasure, a feeling of pleasure. That part of the brain was recognized to be nucleus accumbens, and the chemical, as you might know, is dopamine. Years later, the same experiment was done on human beings when the subjects were playing a gambling game. So, when they were playing a gambling game, their brain imagery was scanned from through an fMRI machine. So, when they were playing the gambling game, whenever there was a bet placed, that area was active again. So that proved that the reward is not activating the nucleus accumbens, but the anticipation of the reward is making it happen. So moral of the story is you need to love the process towards getting to the aim that you love. If I ask you how many of you like to be a CEO, who loves to be a CEO? Everyone will say I love to be a CEO. I love to be a CEO. Who wants to be an actor? Actors will say I want to be an actor. But how many of you like can actually not you? How many of the people that say like I want to be successful actually become successful? That's the catch. So one of the reasons that this happens is we tend to like the aim more than the process, and that was the realization that I luckily got before I started my preparation, and that helped me to perseverantly try harder to love the process of getting myself prepared, looking at what do I lack, what do I need to work on, and I totally loved the entire journey from the day I joined JVMS to the day of my interview. So that really helped me. So that was the reason I am like to tell this story to you. The second reason why I told this story is I believe that we are storytellers inherently. So years ago, we used to find the stories of people gathering around an old man who used to tell stories. And Today also we love to watch movies, we love to watch shows because stories get us hooked. Stories grab our attention, and that's what I advise you all to take this to the interview table. Obviously, you cannot tell Aesop fables at that interview table. So, what kind of stories do you need to tell at the interview table? The stories about yourself. The question the most of the my juniors or most of the people tend to ask is, how do I prepare this? Okay, I'm getting a question here. Okay, yeah, I'll get back to you, Chirag. So, what stories I was telling? So, HR questions. So, most of the questions that I get is how do I prepare about HR questions? So, that is an problem I feel in the schooling system, like we have, not blaming anyone or anybody, but it's really funny to think that tell me about yourself is a problem. Like, even I face the same problem. Might many of you might be facing the same problem that when you are asked to tell about yourself, you find it very difficult. Like, how can it be difficult for speaking about ourselves? That's the reason because we never dig in deep into our own lives. We never think about why we do what we do. Most of us take engineering after 12th just because they have good score or just because everyone else is doing that. So that was my reason also. I scored fairly enough in 12th standard. All friends around me were doing engineering. Those who scored less were going for BCom. So there was a perception like, okay, I am a good scoring student, I should do engineering. So I went for engineering. So that is the reason that we face difficulties when we are asked about questions about ourselves. If an interviewer asks you any technical question, you are very confident about answering because you have studied it well. But when it comes to HR questions, you fumble because you have never studied yourself. So, how do we go about this? One of the solutions that I found very useful from one of the online courses is to prepare a self charter. Now, what is a self charter? Self charter is a Word document that you prepare in which you list down all the small and big incidents in your life that have somehow affected your life or affected in the way that you are now today. So how do I go about it? So firstly, I write after 12th, I chose engineering. So why did I choose engineering? I sit back calmly alone and think about it. I had this option, I had that option, but still I chose engineering. Why was that? How did it help me? Then I joined Larsen and Toubro Constructions. What happened at Larsen and Toubro Construction? Okay, I worked in this profile. Then I was to join a team. Then I was a team leader. So these all incidents, when I write down on a page, I get stories from my own life. So when I'm asked, give me an instance where you have shown leadership, or I'm asked that what is your biggest strength, and I say leadership. Now that's a very vague answer. Like anybody sitting on the other side of the interview will say, I am a team player, I have leadership, I have a positive attitude. But if you have a story behind it that is building upon the point that you are making, that will surely help. Because the interviewer is going to interview around 10 to 15 people at the given time. So you saying that you have leadership qualities is nothing different that is getting to hear from a candidate. But if you have a story, your own personal life story, that is your differentiating factor. That is something that nobody can copy it from you. So if asked to me, I will narrate an incident from my work experience, or maybe I can be a committee member or a head of a student society at my college, and I narrate that incident that I faced this problem, a solution was required, I had a team at hand, how I delegated the job and got the problem solved. So this is how you go about it when it comes to interview. Now, Chirag, what was the most difficult HUL question you faced, which might have caught you off guard? Yeah, so during my interview, I'll get back to okay, I'm to that section only. So the interview was in two phases. The first was the HR question, HR interview, and the second was one with the technical person. So in the both interviews, I was asked the same question of tell me about yourself. The only difference was in the second interview, I was told to tell me about yourself that is not in the CV. So that is one of the like off guard question for anyone because you tend to really work hard for your CV. You build your CV. You put all your points on it. You run through your history and put everything that you have done in the CV, and then you are asked tell me something that is not in the CV. So that was something that I did not prepare for. You should, but as I said, we are storytellers. Now that is the open-ended question. If you have been asked to tell something that is not in the CV, the ball is in your court. You can go like tell anything that you want. I started with my hobbies. I started with what my friends call me, what I learned from my hobbies, what I learned from my experience. I'm not telling about my experience, but I'm telling what I learned from it, or how do I go about my hobbies. So anything, you can say anything. So that was the question that caught me on guard. But when it comes that, it's how you think on your toes, think on your knees, and answer the question. So I hope I answered you, Chirag. Hi, Satya Shripati. Hi. So let's go next. What went into researching the company? So when I joined the campus, I was very sure that I will be taking marketing as my specialization in MBA. So there was not even a tinge of any confusion of whether I take finance, HR, operations, or marketing. So I was lucky in that area that I was very sure that I will be taking marketing as a specialization. So it's not a necessary thing to be sure, but I was sure. Like I'll speak about myself that I was very sure because I used to watch advertisements, and advertisements really like fancied me since years before I joined MBA. Like if you log into my YouTube account, you will see a lot of advertisements watched in my YouTube watch history. So that was always something that interested me, that fancied me. So marketing was for sure. And the second thing, why FMCG, is because that is the field that is not going to die soon, because people are not going to stop using products or daily use products like soaps, like unless you want to give up taking bath. I don't think they are going to face any recession. So that is one reason why FMCG is a great industry to work with. The another is the freedom to experiment. Like how crazy can you go about advertising a soap, and you can see live examples of, like, take deodorant ads for example. Like how creative can one be in selling a deodorant? So that was one reason why I chose FMCG industry. The reason why I chose HUL in particular was not at all about it being the one of the top five market cap companies or top FMCG of the India, having like 45 plus brands and all. Like all the statistics are good, but the main reason why I chose MBA was, sorry, why I chose HUL was in the value system it had. Like I remember the day when Hindustan Unilever came for its replacement talk and talked about how it works and how it functions, and I was really surprised that, like, can a corporate be like that actually? Like, are they telling the truth, or are they like sugarcoating the facts? So I started my own research. I started looking at the history of HUL, how it started in India. I actually made a 18 pager of the entire history I know of HUL. I can get from the public domain, right from the 1880s to the 2017. I had it written on a single page, written on every event. Now, how did it help me? That helped me because I knew the facts of the company right from the where it was initiated. I know how Hindustan Lever Limited become Hindustan Unilever Limited. How I know the M&As that happen. I know how Brook Bond, Lipton, and Red Label merged and formed into Biblil. Then it got into the HUL bucket. I know everything now. Then when you dig deeper, you get to know that, okay, Hindustan Unilever logo was changed. Why was it changed? Okay, there are 24 elements in the logo. Now that you have dig deep into a company, now you realize that, okay, I am pretty much sure about applying to this company. So when I go to the interview table, I'm not just giving a flair that I like your company, and like I have done a research on your company. And when I state these examples, it is evident that I have done my background research and then I have decided to apply for the company. So that is the research I took into. Satya Shripati asks, congrats on your video. My question is, why MBA in marketing after engineering? Yeah, so why MBA in marketing? As I said, I used to work in construction industry. So there I used to work with procurement department where I had to deal with the subcontractors and people. My job was to actually assess the subcontractors for the job to be done. So for example, a job is to be done and it requires some third party agency to apply for it. So my job was to take the quotations from the subcontractors, assess them on their ability to do the job, and then make the rate negotiations with them, and then accordingly give the most suitable candidate the contract. So that's when my boss actually saw the skill of me of assessing people and making communications with them. So that's when I was given another task of client handling. So I was the single point of contact, the youngest one. single point of contact for the client, our client. So I used to handle the invoicing for the client also. So that's when my boss said that, do you look like 10 years down the line on my table? So the answer was no. Like I found that I don't want to work in civil industry anymore because of many reasons. So he actually saw the flare in me and advised me that I should take a management course. So I decided to the management course, and marketing was the obvious choice because of the skill set. I said my boss has recognized me, and then I introspected somewhat. So that was clear that I want to do MBA in marketing. I hope I answer your question, Satya. How to tackle questions? Achal Singhal asks, how to tackle questions based on your academics if they are low? Okay, so I don't have a like generic answer about this, how to tackle questions based on academics, but you can always tell the truth, whatever has been the reason for you, like why your academics were low. You can rather say that the rigors or the the industrial way of the teaching that used to happen in school was not your way of learning. You are more into like getting a video course or getting an interactive course that actually helped you later. So during the starting phase, that was the reason that you lacked, or maybe you were focused on some other end. So if you just observe your CV, it must have some area of spike. If your academics are low, maybe you're good at sports, or maybe you're good at some extracurriculars. So you can always mention them that, okay, like I was good at this and I was not good at that. So I don't think that should be a problem if you are at the interview table and your CV is already shortlisted. So you can justify your low academics also. So if there are no other questions, I'll move forward. Shubhayadu Kedia asks how to answer the question sell yourself. Okay, sell yourself is pretty much similar as tell me about yourself. So I've already answered that question. I don't think it should not. Okay, you ask why should we not hire you? Yeah, to approach the question like why should we not hire you? So it's a very trick question actually. Uh, Also, similarly, you can be asked about tell me about your weaknesses. So that is also a trick question. Like students really fumble about what to speak about when it comes to talking your weaknesses. So when they asked me about my weakness was I'm a little aggressive person. I said that I tend to be aggressive when I face a time crunch, or when I face a deadline coming along. So there was an incident in my work experience when I used to work at Odisha. There was a deadline coming and my team had not completed the job they were given to do. So that was the situation that my panic button got pressed, and I was like, okay, you need to do that, you need to do that, this has to be done, this has to be done. So the result was because of my panic, my subordinates were like bamboozled over, okay, okay, like my team leader is angry now. So that was totally counterproductive because that is not going to increase their productivity anyhow. So that is when I learned that when at situations as a leader, I can't be aggressive. I need to be assertive in looking at the current situation. That okay, this is the situation. The time crunch is there. Now I need to identify who can do what, and then I need to delegate. So that was one of the weakness that I observed I had, and I started working on it. So it's now assertive behavior over aggressive behavior. So what you do basically is that when you tell a weakness, it's actually an incident that allowed you to look at your weakness. And you can always say that the first step towards solving any problem is recognizing that there is a problem. So when you say that a particular thing is your weakness, you must also state at the end of it that how you recognize it as your weakness and started working on it. So many of the times people say that as a weakness that I'm very impatient. Don't stop at that. Like, okay, then what? Impatient can be a weakness for you, but you never know, it can be a strength for a person who is interviewing you. So how do you put it across is the key. If I say I'm very impatient, because whenever a task is given to me, I get very excited about how to do it as quickly as possible. So that's what makes me very anxious about the task. I give away all the distractions and I give my complete focus on it, and that's why I feel very anxious at times. So I think that I should calm myself down. So when you put it across in a way that your weakness can also be your strength at times, that can really help you. I'm giving just a vague example that is coming top of the mind. You need to really sit down in a silent room and note all the weaknesses, like from the your self charter, which you recognize. Okay, these are the strengths I have, which I'm going to like. If I'm even not asked upright about my strengths, somehow I will be mentioning it. If I'm not even asked about my some stories about my weakness and how did I overcome it, somehow in some question I'm going to bring the interview to that, because like my seniors used to say that it's you who is driving the interview, and it's very true. Most of the times what happens is it's a Q&A, and remember one thing, that the interviewer is there to interview like number of candidates at the time, so it gets boring, so don't bore your interviewer. So how do you do that is not getting into a Q&A, like ask question and give answer, there's a pause, another question comes, you give an answer, there's a pause. Don't do that. Like keep it a dialogue. Like at least in the actual interview, that really helped, that it was a all time ongoing dialogue between me and the interviewer, just like a normal communication. So it did not get boring at that time. So that's one of the things that I would like to tell you. Okay, why should we not hire you? I said that it's just like weakness. You're asked to give a classified ad of yourself time. Okay, I'm getting this. So getting some error here. Just wait, please. Nitisha Verma asks, "What are some marketing buzzwords that one should know for the interview?" Okay. Uh, I don't know what you mean by that, Miss Nitisha. Marketing buzzwords. Like, are you asking like what concepts? So okay, I'll just answer. When it comes to a marketing interview, you need to be clear with the basics. Like if you are like 2 3 months minimum old in an institute before you sit for an interview, so you should know the basic frameworks of what is a marketing mix, what is a DSTP, what is a product life cycle, like what is positioning, like who brought positioning, like whose concept it was, or you must be ready with how brands have sometimes molded the rules and given their creative side of the communication. Favicol is one of the answers. So when it comes to buzzwords, it's actually not. It can be really a negative factor for you if you are using a buzzword, and when cross questioned about it, you don't have an answer. So it becomes very clear that you have just noted it down that I will be using this word. It's a smart word. Like at my times I used to. I remember people used to not sleep and post insomnia. Like 2 days of not sleeping, I am insomniac. So that was a cool buzzword back then. So instead of thinking like using a buzzwords for marketing interview, make sure you put across your communication in a very professional way. Like I do not say that what people think of Coca-Cola is very different than what people think of Pepsi. This is a very layman type of answer. But a marketing individual should be like the brand positioning of Coca-Cola is very different than the brand positioning of Pepsi. So the entire phrase of what people have an image of my brand in mind comes under one definition of brand positioning. And if you're calling that a buzzword, then maybe it's a buzzword. But the type of words you use actually can portray you as a smarter person or the person who is very clear with the concepts. So I'll say you must use the technical words that are there so that you don't come around as a layman but a upcoming marketer. How should we answer? There are a lot of questions. Okay. How should we answer our biggest failures? Should it be professional scenarios or personal life? Yeah, it can be anything. Now, most of you will not be having professional work experience. So that is the time when you feel that when I'm asked about to give any leadership instance or team play instance or failure, like what should I say? So the answer to that is you don't need to make it a very like ostentatious situation, like it was a big situation, a life on test situation. It can be as simple as anything. A failure can be anything like it can also be an academic failure also. If it taught you something long term, if it taught you values for the long term, it can be treated as a failure. So if you have both a professional scenario and personal life, you can choose professional one to narrate at the interview table. But if you are not having any professional scenario, you can have a personal one also. Just make sure that your personal scenario is not something that will make any third party or any third person feel a little awkward. So don't, like, prefer not to narrate your like a broken relationship, any awkward personal stories, like avoid them. But the scenario can be professional or personal, both. Marcus, could you throw some light on how to apply for marketing internship abroad, please? I'm sorry, Marcus, I don't have an answer for that. How to apply for marketing internship abroad, but I can help you with some preparation tips if you want. Okay, so next part. After getting selected, what did I prepare for the internship? Now, summer internship interviews must be after, like, they are coming soon. So, and you will be joining your respective companies in March. So you have pretty much time in between to prepare. So keep this in mind that when you join your organization, you will be having interns from other institutes as your competition. So don't sit back and relax after you are selected into your dream company or any of your companies that you get selected into. That like generally a placement हो गया now मैं आराम करूंगा. Don't keep that attitude, because it's trust me, it's very detrimental to your future, because other institutes people might not be doing it. So be assured that you need to prepare triple hard than you prepared for the interview. So what I did was, after I got selected into HUL, I knew my race is going to be with the top IIMs and the XLRI people. So I need to be up to the mark. So what I did was, I started exploring what are the aspects of marketing that one can learn. Like forget about the syllabus. What are the things that a marketer has to know? So for that, I looked into online courses, because I always believe that one should always enroll into like minimum two online courses from two different platforms. That's because one part of the learning you get from your faculty, from your institute, one part of learning you get from the seniors and their experiences, and then two online courses from two different platforms gives you an entire different perspective about the same topic. So that really helped me. I did some brand building courses, I did some sales leadership courses, I did live projects, a lot of live projects. I did one with the 3M, Kellogg's, like a lot of companies I did live projects for. So that really helped me in crafting solutions to real life problems that a brand can face. So, and that also exposed me to a lot of frameworks that I can use to tackle some problems. So frameworks will really help you think in a structured way and come to a solution. So that all really helped me in my internship. So if there are not any more questions, I'll move forward to the section of during internship. So during internship, the entire culture at Hindustan Unilever was like, it left me mesmerized. Literally, I till the date I call that organization my home. I For most of the days I was the first intern in and the last intern out. So, and that was not by force, but I literally loved being there. I loved being there at the office. The people are approachable there, like you can go to and talk to anybody there, like the senior management also. You can just go there, approach them, like discuss about your project on, or ask for some advice that you want. Like it's a very happy place to be. People are very good when it comes to talking to you. And the most important part is, like, only on your letterhead or your email you are an intern, because the project that I was doing during my internship, nobody else was doing, because I was the sole owner of the project. That if Hindustan Unilever is going to launch my project, I am the one who is working on it. So that is the kind of ownership that they gave the interns. And if you are someone who like loves the ownership of the job like me, then you will. There's no more high than that. There's nothing else that can give you a kick than that, because being a sole owner of a project with such a big company, like that was super exciting for me. It was a lot of pressure also, but it's very exciting for it. Like you get the complete ownership of the project. You are working for the project. You You are getting problems, you are approaching people from the research and development, you are approaching people from the finance, you are approaching people from the supply chain, you are approaching people from the manufacturing unit, and getting things done. I used to just call as a write mails, send mails, and set up meetings with people, like an intern doing that. Imagine a 35-year-old guy who is like 10, 15 years old in the company is getting an email for an intern that you need to be there at 5 p.m. for the meeting because we need to discuss that. Like, that is the culture there because people are very objective oriented. So that was something that really made me happy at the place working in Hindustan Unilever. So I cannot literally disclose what the project was or what the product was, but the beast project that I got was a complete development and the building of a brand, a new product that is going to be launched. So that really gave me a complete idea of what we learned about the 4 P's and the 6 P's of the marketing. I can say that I implemented each and every P in the project. So if there is anyone who says to you that the theoretical learning and the practical learning are way apart, they don't match, they don't come together, they are all lies. Because at least I can say about management courses that they are not true, because it is all about how you apply your knowledge. In my project, it started from product and it ended with price. That all the P's covered. So it's never true if anybody says that the theoretical and the practical part is not are not linked. So I see one more question. If there are some good branding and marketing consultancies, please let me know it. Okay, I don't know about I'm not supposed to like suggest companies to you, sorry. Okay, so next part about the research again. Many a times I get asked that whatever information I read on the public forum about a company, how can that be enough? Because people will be reading the same information. So that's true. When it comes to when it came to my research about HUL, it was from the public domain, obviously, because I could not reach out to anybody from inside. So I use Wikipedia, I use their own website, browse through the different content that was posted about Hindustan Unilever in the newspaper. So the key here is to differentiate yourself is from your content connection. Now, how do you do that? For that, you need to be an avid reader. That's like teachers used to say it from a childhood that read books, read magazines, develop a reading habit, get more and more knowledge. So there's a reason behind it that you will realize soon. Because when it comes to getting research about company from the public domain, most of the facts that you will come across will be common to all. Everybody will know that okay, this year this brand was launched. Now this year this brand was launched. But if you're having some other information also from other sources, then you can link it. Like for example, there was a question that was asked to a company that you are based out of a country and still you call yourself a company for India. Like how is that? So the answer behind it was the company is present in India. I'm not talking about any specific company here. Like since 16th century. So the time, sorry, not 16th, 18th century. So the time when India was not even a free country. Now that I know for myself, I know for myself that what work have they done for the country. So I joined these two facts that I know and then craft my own answer. So that will give me a differentiating edge. Now, tackling a Unilever question, for example. So on my CV, the first line said that I won the PNG CO challenge. So I was asked around for 15 to 20 minutes about why PNG, why not PNG, why HUL, all the questions like that. So you need to really put across that what really inspired you in choosing the company. As I said that it wasn't the market capitalization or the number of brands or the ranking for me. It was the values. How did I got to know about the values is by reading a book called Fortune at the Bottom of Pyramid by C.K. Prahlad. So that book has really good case studies, which I studied. One was the Annapurna case study, and the one was the Lifebuoy. So now I know from the public domain about when Lifebuoy was launched. But I also know that when India was suffering from diarrhea epidemic and there was all the cries about children not growing past the age of 5 because of diarrhea, that's when Hindustan Unilever came with the hand wash campaign. They penetrated into the most rural places of the country and taught the people how they should wash their hands with soap, how just water is not enough, how it does not help in killing the germs, and how personal hygiene can actually save their children from suffering from diarrhea. In Kumbh Mela, it's a very famous campaign of how they क्या आपने लाइफ बॉय से हाथ धोया on roti. So these are all the campaigns that HUL really did for marketing. So that really touched me because I thought that they could have just distributed like small 5 rupee lifebuoy soaps and got done with the CSR, what they say. But Unilever does not believe in CSR as a side part. They believe in doing good in their core operations. And that is something that actually resonates with my own values. That I don't think that okay, I should do my business at the one side and some good by side just to fill a CSR section on my website. Again, when it comes to Annapurna case study, I got to know that how investment was done in R&D just to develop that iodine isotope to make it stabilized for Indian cooking. So that was the amount of investment that company put for solving real life problems through their business. So that is something that really touched me, that no matter what business you are in, you can actually touch lives. So that was the reason I chose HUL. So when you are giving an answer that is backed with such data, you don't need anything to convince. Can someone with an average? Okay, Omkar, I'm reading your question now. Can someone with average ACADS aspire to get an internship with huge FMCG brands like Unilever? I request you not to shy away from this question. Is there a stringent shortlisting criteria? I really don't. I'm not sure about what shortlisting criteria companies have because they don't share it with anyone. But it's okay. Like even if you have average academics, you can make it up by taking relevant courses on your CV so that you show your inclination towards the subject now that you are into a B school. So it's okay. Like even if I say that even if you have average academics, you don't have a way to change it. So they are going to stay. So why think about it? Because no matter how you think about how hard you think about it, your 12 percentage are not going to go from 70% to 90%. So they are going to be 70%. So it is what you do now that can or that may bring the difference. So what I suggest is if you have average ACADS, so you make it up to it by taking some life projects, by taking some study projects, very good study projects where you can go deep and gather insights, or take courses like which are really close to the market scenario, very close to business. So there's a bridge in the industry and the academia. So a course that will help you bridge the gap. So do something that will bridge the gap so that that acts as a spike in your CV to make up for your low ACADS. So that is one thing that you can do now. So like in a nutshell, focus on what you can do now. Like forget what you have done in the past. You may have low ACADS, you may have shifted branches, you may have discontinued something. Don't worry now. Been there, done that. It's in the past. Focus on what you can do now. What good you can do now to build your CV and build your profile. All right, so that's what I had from my end. You will be receiving a video recording of this soon. Those of you who have all registered for this webinar, I hope I could help you or answer your questions. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to the team inside IM and they will surely reach out to me if you want to connect with me anytime. So, thank you so much for listening and good night.